Hello and welcome to another episode of the Tech Informist. This is episode 25, recorded on January 28th, 2015. The Tech Informist is a show intended to help inform and educate you, the listeners, about the world of technology, with interviews with guests from the tech industry, along with lively and entertaining commentary about the latest tech news. My name is Kevin Harvell, and I am joined by my good friend and co-host, JJ Hammond. JJ, how are you?
Halo, I'm fantastic.
Now, Halo, is that kind of like a Microsoft reference there? 'Cause we know the Microsoft history there with you, so.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking they're working out some of the issues with the Halo Master Chief Collection, and a lot of people are having problems saying Halo Lens. That's
Yeah.
like what everybody wants to say. Um,
No.
instead of HoloLens, but because it's kind of difficult to say. And I know the English language pretty well, so yeah. Anyways, but I'm doing really good, and I'm an old person. I fell down the other day, but I got right back up, and
Right
I'm
back
ready
up,
to do the show.
dust yourself off,
Dust yourself off, yo yo. What's
moving
up?
forward.
Well,
Good deal.
hello everyone. Hello Kevin. It's good to see you, my friend.
Yes, and I would like to welcome everybody in the chat room. Thank you all for joining us again today. Everybody that would like to participate and join us in the chat room live during our live recordings. I guess you could almost say live in front of a studio audience, kind of like the old 70s, 80s TV shows.
We grew up with
Recorded
that
live.
stuff. I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Recorded live in front of a studio audience. Now,
Mm-hmm.
you can always visit us at thetechinformist.com/live. There you can either watch our current episode like we're recording right now, you can participate in the chat room, and you can also view the upcoming episode schedule to get an idea of what days and times that we're looking to record, along with upcoming guests that we get. We don't have guests every episode, but we're trying to work them a little bit more into the show flow. So we're going to try to do once a week and just see how that goes. So if anybody has guest suggestions, you can email that and any feedback and any other suggestion for future show topics to contact@thetechinformist.com. And make sure to follow us on Twitter, @TechInformist, and Facebook, Instagram, Google+. We love Google+. Why most more people don't want to use it, it's very mind-boggling. But Google Plus is a good service. Facebook, it's kind of playing its way out. But to me, that's just me. But again, it's time for another episode of the Tech Informist. So let's move on to the news of the day. And as we mentioned last time, since it looks like I have the first news story, I'm going to
I,
kick this show off.
I was just getting ready to say, I was like, guess what? Kevin is up first, finally.
That's right. So all the companies are starting to put out their numbers from 2014 and the quarter, most recently completed quarter. So we'll touch on Apple's numbers a little bit later in the episode, but right now we're going to start off with the Microsoft Surface has pulled in over $1 billion in revenue for Microsoft as sales increased by 24%.
Right.
Now, there's always been discussion once the Surface line, Surface Pro and Surface RT launched, that Microsoft was losing money like crazy. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like a big chunk of the wall was pulled out of the dam, and it was just leaking money like crazy.
Right.
But now it looks like with the success of the Surface Pro 3 that things are starting to even out and maybe eventually start moving upwards as making a little profit in the future. So it's going to be very curious to see how things move forward with the Surface Pro 3 as successful as it has been already, and more companies getting interested, knowing they're going to get a free upgrade. So if you go to buy a Surface Pro 3 today, you're going to get the free upgrade to Windows 10 once it launches later this year. And also looking forward to the new hardware for the Surface Pro 4, and we'll see what goes on from there. But just another quick note on the Surface. Microsoft has ceased production of the Surface 2, so That doesn't bode well for the Surface RT platform. So, sorry, I mean Windows RT, which is completely different. It's more secure, but it's less functional than, traditional full versions of Windows. JJ, what are your thoughts on that?
Regret it. I just sent out a tweet. I was like, yo, we need to get some more peeps join in on a conversation so we can have, some more lively debate in the chat room and stuff because we love that stuff, man. Love it. So my thoughts on this story are going to be hugely positive. Now, there is a caveat, and there's always some catch, right, to any type of news. I mean, information is in itself information, and we try to pull from it what we can. The interesting thing to note here is that we don't know how much money Microsoft actually pulled in right off the top of our heads. I mean, it's I believe it's in this story. I haven't checked quite yet, but the reason why I say that is this is huge news for Microsoft. It's awesome that the Surface line is taking off. I watched a little bit of Media Day the other day for the Super Bowl, and
Hmm.
I saw a lot of Surface devices being used by the media. And if we know one thing, it's that when we see more devices in the wild, that perpetuates this idea of it's no longer on the outs, right? It's no longer on the out crowd. It's no longer a niche device. It can be used across the spectrum, from schools to just normal casual use to to business and so on and so forth. So I believe that Surface and the Surface Pro 3, its design from the hardware and the software and what's coming down the pipe with Windows 10, we're going to see just a huge explosion next year in the Surface line products. I really hope that Microsoft releases a Surface type of phone, like it aligns itself with the phone, right?
Right, kind of like a premium. I mean, you look at the
Exactly.
Surface Pro and you're
Yeah.
like, that's a premium device, which I
It's a
mean
premium device. Yeah.
it's intended to compete against MacBook Airs and the MacBook line.
And I
So
want to mention that it's premium compared to the Surface Pro 2. Like, if you put the Surface Pro 2, when I'm sitting next to Kevin, I'm sad because I'm rocking the Pro 2 and he's rocking the Pro 3, and there's a significant difference. And I mean, the Pro 2 is a nice machine. Don't get
yeah,
me wrong, but the Pro 3 has just a quality to it that really raises the bar. And I really hope that they do that with their phone-oriented devices coming forward. But so, having said that, let's make sure we move on quickly. My answer to this is great news. Hope we see more from this going forward.
right. So next on the list, Google is set to announce the expansion of its Google Fiber network to 4 new cities. Now, according to the Wall Street Journal, the details will be rolling out in the next few days, but according to the publication sources, the company will start to offer the 1 gigabit broadband network in Atlanta, Georgia, Nashville, Tennessee, and 2 cities in North Carolina, Raleigh, Durham, and Charlotte. So
Mm.
customers in those four areas, you might want to be on the lookout and see what you can get. So according to this article that I'm looking at, you can get gigabit internet for around $80 a month, which is the same price as customers in Kansas City, where it first launched back in 2012. Now it's hard to believe that it was 2000. It's already been almost 3 full years since Google Fiber actually became a thing and people were available to start getting it. It's
Right.
it's it's hard to believe,
It
and
is. Yeah.
it's currently also available in Austin, Texas, and Provo, Utah. So not they're identifying 9 metropolitan areas as potential expansion areas in February of last year. So they've already looked at different areas to further expand. So good, good, good. We I know we touched on it a little bit last week when we mentioned Google was looking to possibly start their own mobile phone service.
Yeah, I think it would behoove Google to expand in as many markets as possible because wireless has its merits and fiber has its merits because it's got to get you got to get information to the pipes to the towers so they can send out the signal. So if you're kind of controlling some of that stuff, it would be advantageous, I would think. So it's interesting because Google is really trying to make, I think, a compelling case for why the company is and will continue to be profitable going forward. I mean, we're going to talk about this a little bit about Microsoft and how their stock has taken a serious hit because investors just don't know what to do about some of the news that came out from their second quarter. So I think for the most part, we should be on the lookout for Google here because they're trying to establish why they're going to continue being a profitable company, you know.
Right.
And
Now,
okay,
now, if Google Fiber became available here in, for example, the St. Louis area,
hmm
and in the areas, that we live in on the outskirts of St. Louis, would that be something you would consider getting as your home internet provider?
it depends on the speeds and the price. I think. I mean, I don't. I think it would be false for me to sit here and say, well, I'm not going to use Google because blah blah blah. Because all broadband providers are pretty equally bad about protecting my what I do and the internet that comes and goes. I'm not worried about that, but that doesn't mean that other people shouldn't be. And when we think about Google expanding their project with satellites in space and with balloons and all this other kind of stuff around the world, I don't. There's no slowing it down. There is a little bit of hesitation, but I don't think that I wouldn't use that product because I don't believe that they're going to be any worse than who I'm using now, right? And if I'm going to benefit from the faster speeds, then why not just benefit from it? And the other thing is, we should note that it would create a little bit of a disruption because I would assume it would be a little cheaper. It would create a little bit of a disruption in the pricing strategy. And I think more of a case for why companies should continue, if they're not Google, to build out their broadband service to the rural areas to compete, right, for people's dollars. So
Right. Yeah, I was talking with JJ, or not JJ, but Jared and TJ
there you go.
from Pounds Media here located in St. Louis, a really awesome media production company that will travel across the country to
hmm
do video work for you. So, visit pounds-media.com and check them out. But, they've moved into a new location here in St. Louis, and we were talking about their internet network speeds, and they were talking
Oh,
about
it's awful, yeah.
some of the people that occupy spaces in lower levels of the building that they're in have AT&T fiber, and
hmm
they paid like $10,000 to get it ran to the building,
Right.
for them. And they were talking, 100 meg down and 100 meg up. So, they were able to go down and use their get on their Wi-Fi downstairs if they needed to
Right.
upload some videos, and then they checked into price what it would cost to get a run upstairs to the seventh floor where they're at, and it'd be
Oh,
like another 10 grand.
I know
Just
I was just getting ready to say I know where this is going.
yeah, I'm like, yeah, gosh. So definitely, pure fiber in that sense is awesome speeds, but man, you're gonna if you're building in your place where you're at is not already set up for it, man, it can be a very expensive venture if you're trying to go at it alone.
Right. Right.
But
So this is an interesting case here because do we see this being cheaper right now? Not so much. Right now, Google Fiber is still kind of one of those inclusive things. I think you have to like it. It's an invite, and there's this little bit of a thing. So I hope that they can overcome some of the hurdles, but we can't not think about some of the regulations and some of the pricing problems that municipalities have with allowing this thing to go forward. And I think on a political level we should allow things like Iowa where there's more municipalities that can offer that sort of thing. I mean, I
right,
think
can do their own thing, and you don't have
yeah,
to rely on the charters, the Comcast, the
yeah, yeah,
Verizon
yeah,
FiOS, and all
yeah.
that. But
Because I
if
mean, that's a local. Some of these local municipalities, that could be another source of revenue instead of giving me tickets.
Right.
Anyways, yeah. So I think we've spent enough time on this
Yeah.
particular story.
Just real quick though, I think for that $80 a month, if I'm remembering correctly from when I first looked into Google Fiber, I believe that includes TV and internet as well. So it's not just
Yeah,
internet for the $80 a month.
like I said, compelling case is
Yeah.
price, right? I mean, we could talk all day long about whatever, but if the price is right, and that's why Android is on like 80% of mobile devices because it's free, So if they, it's a compelling price is nothing.
Right.
That's
All
why
right.
people are on Cricket, Team or Cricket. I think T-Mobile and mobile Metro PCS. It's because
Straight
of the
talk,
price.
etc. Yeah.
Straight Talk, etc. Yeah, etc.
All right. So moving on now, Twitter is looking to, they're starting to roll out group direct messages and a mobile video camera to the Android and iOS apps. So pretty soon you're going to be able to use direct messages to speak privately with a group of up to 20 people, share tweets, show emojis, and just be yourself according to what Twitter says. And being able to shoot and share 30-second videos. Now they use Neil Patrick Harris, who's getting ready to host the Oscars, kind of like as their first video, as an example. Which I mean, Twitter already has Vine, which people remember. I think Vine is 6-second videos that a lot of people really use for like stop motion and stuff like that. Kind of interesting stuff, but wanting to bump up to 30 seconds puts them 15 seconds longer than Instagram. So it's kind of like that long. They're just going to keep like battling it out with Instagram and Facebook to create their own kind of private stuff here. I don't know. I don't know. I don't really share a lot of little videos with things, whether it's Instagram or I honestly I haven't had Vine installed on any phone in months, so I can't say I use that hardly at all.
Right.
Now, what about you, JJ? Do you think you would use Twitter direct messaging, for groups up to 20 people, or you feel Twitter DM is already kind of good for one-on-one conversations? I mean, now this is really just going to bring in like group messaging,
Yeah.
essentially.
So group messaging, unfortunately and unfortunately, me and Kevin have had some experience with it. It drives you bat crazy, depending on what your notification system's like, right?
Right.
So I would say that this is a feature that needed to happen for Twitter, but I don't think it's going to stop people from either leaving Twitter or not using Twitter as much, right? Because we find Twitter very useful for us because it's just one of the best places that we can go to get the people that we want to talk to,
Right.
and vice
Quickly
versa.
communicate.
Yeah. And I didn't realize, by the way, if you want to realize you say a bunch of words that don't matter, try to tweet someone like a DM, and then you're like, oh my God, for some reason I can't do 140 characters. Like I say what I want to say, and I only hear what I want to. No, and then I got to go back and then delete like half of the words that I typed in, right? Like you're over 500, it's like minus 30. I'm like, really? Holy cow. So I don't like being held down a little bit, but I also see the wisdom in just getting your point across, right?
Right. Short to the point.
Short to the point. I know Kevin likes that, but he doesn't like that in rapid fire segments, like our boy Alejandro does. So I guess this is a good feature. I don't think that this is going to help them in the long run. That's just
Right.
my thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, I still think Twitter's doing good. I don't know why it's like they're wanting to keep changing everything when it comes to this. It's like, maybe it's necessary, maybe it's not. Maybe it'll be something when it's fully rolled out and we're using it. We'll be like, yeah, this makes sense.
So when you got the latest Twitter update, as many did on Android and iOS, but mostly Android, did you have an opinion? Did you have thoughts about it wanting to know all the other applications that are installed on your device?
Honestly, I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to some permissions.
Right.
I mean,
You're
if
like,
it's a
my life's an open book at this point.
I mean, to the most part, people
digitally.
have to accept that it just is.
Yeah,
You're using a smartphone. It's going to happen.
right. I just wanted to see what your thoughts were on that. I know that's not in the rundown, but that was a news story that came out that Twitter as an app on your device wants to know what other applications are running on that device. And to me that felt like a little bit of an overreach.
TMI, too much information
A
there.
little bit, a little bit. You know, I mean, I do think that there's a balance that we need to try to keep, and I think that Twitter pushes that envelope quite a bit. You
Right.
know,
Now,
quite a
also
bit.
keep in mind with this news about the additional features of Twitter and within the app is that these will not be available on third-party apps, to my knowledge. The way I'm understanding is going to be a Twitter, you know,
Oh,
own app.
gotcha. So like Tweetium and
Yeah, I'm not sure that
Falcon Pro.
those APIs will be available. I could be wrong, and like I've mentioned previously, more often than I could be.
Right, but I'm glad you brought that up because that's something I wouldn't have thought about yet. So
Right.
I am glad you brought that up.
So, so if that is true, really the only thing that I could see needing on the official Twitter app is a dark theme. I don't like being blinded every time. In the
Really?
evening, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I like
yeah,
dark
I guess.
themes
Yeah.
because I mean it's kind of better on your battery depending on your display. AMOLED displays, you know, a little easier on the eyes.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I think that's good. Yep.
All right, so what do you got to talk about today?
Holy cow, it's my turn. Oh, that's
Yeah,
just scary.
I'll let JJ talk for a while.
Well, you know, if you care or not care about Windows or Microsoft, you've tuned into the wrong show. No, I talk about this stuff because I'm passionate about it and I like it. But NeoWin is a great source of information coming to you from NeoWin. But let's talk about Microsoft stock price. It had a significant drop in the last couple of days. And if you want to see it, a funny looking like what I would call a cliff. Okay, it literally just goes drop. You're just like, whoa, what the huh? Like, what happened?
Hmm.
So, while closing pretty much where it opened, Microsoft stock took a nosedive, and when I say nosedive, it's not a joke. Uh, the hours after trading. Now, after trading hours can be a telltale sign, or they can be, you know, this other kind of thing. Well, it was not good. It took a hit of more than 4% of its value. So that was a pretty big deal. So this comes after the company detailed its most recent financial results. According to yesterday's results, Microsoft had a very strong, if not outstanding, quarter with many of its divisions showing growth. However, the hardware business, though still small, showed significant uptick, while transitioning products such as Office showed strong and important continued trends. The company's revenue is high, its operating incomes is slightly down, but it's still in great shape, while its reserves, by a rough calculation, are higher than ever. Now, I'm going to disclose that this is information given to us by a party, and this in no way is information that you should consider financial advice. Okay, so what we see is the stock is, you know, going up and then boom, it goes down. Why for the drop? Simple. Windows revenue declined significantly during this quarter, and in large part because people have already moved away from XP. That major change to the OS version in business environments has slowed significantly. Also to blame for the general slowdown is the PC market in recent years. New low-cost licensing SKUs for educational and academic institutions, and general dislike for the Windows 8 operating system. We can all agree that Windows 8 and 8.1 not a success in adoption rate of people who like using it. I went to a Best Buy I want to say it was a couple months ago, and this girl comes in, she's just like, "Is that running Windows 8? I hate that. It's crap." And like people just hate it. I mean, they just hate it.
Right.
So and I would say and this is just my opinion on this, but I would say the reason why is going full screen mode with the applications. I bet you if the applications would have just run in a window, it would have been a complete and if the charms bar was gone, it would have been a completely different acceptance, right?
Right.
Because that's what Windows 10 is. I mean, essentially, it's just
Yeah.
people
Just
can't.
real quick, kind of touching on that, looking at the stock price for today, as of right now, the Microsoft stock is down $1.23 as of right this moment,
Yeah.
or as I maybe it's 1 point. 0.23%. I think it's a
I
dollar 23.
I don't want to open another application, but let's just say it's a roller coaster ride, and I'm trying to
Yes.
explain what that roller coaster ride means. So let me drill into this a little bit more. Now, all these problems are here to stay for the foreseeable future. Okay, Neo1 says Windows 10 will be a free upgrade for almost everyone. However, it's not a free upgrade for business. So there's a positive, right? I mean, for investors in the stock market or whatever. But
Right.
despite having numerous other billion-dollar businesses, Microsoft is still viewed as a creator of Windows, and the company will have to prove to everyone that it can shift away from the licensing model as it succeeds. Now, that's not the only person who was talking about this. Mary Jo Foley, it's not in, I don't believe it's in the show notes, but Mary Jo Foley was talking about how the future, it's like there are significant credit rating agencies who have all put either hold or sell on the stock. That's what she was reporting. That they say to people who are looking to invest, financial advisors say, I wouldn't, but in the short term, but in the long term, I would. So it's this weird contradiction, right? It's like, in the short term, we don't know what's going to happen, but in the long term, it's probably going to be awesome. So you're like, well, wait a minute, what do I do? So right now, the stock market doesn't know what to think, and I think if Windows had or excuse me, if Microsoft had a compelling story in the hardware, there wouldn't even be a problem, because investors like Apple because they go, are you making money? Yes. How are you making money? From people buying our product. It's not built into a service system that we don't know how that income model is going to shake out over time, right? I mean, Google, they sell. I mean, they're like, come on, baby. They're like passing out cards of ideas, right? Of products that people can buy, and they're advertisers, and they track people. That's pretty well established business model. Where
Right.
Microsoft is going in a different direction. They're saying, okay, here's what the new business model is going to be going forward instead of the old business model, and that shakes people a little bit. Kevin, what's your thoughts on this story?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, the stock is going up, it's going down, it's kind of all over the place, but it looks like things are I think things are on the upswing for Microsoft. I think, a lot of people are excited for what 2015 is going to bring. I think a lot of it's going to depend personally to me what they do with Windows Phone. The Windows 10 being free for everybody, consumer wise, it's going to be bumping up from Windows 7 and Windows 8.1. Obviously that kind of cuts down on profits because that's, at least $100 that people, that they won't be getting from people that already have current equipment that aren't looking to buy new equipment. So I don't know. We'll just have to see.
Well, the reason why we're talking about money right now, guys, is because, again, if I said it on another show, I'm going to continue to say it on other shows. It makes the world go round. Okay, so if you're loving something, say like let's say Zune, for example, everybody who used Zune liked Zune for the most part. Guess what? Money talks. They quit supporting it because it just wasn't
Not
a
enough
product.
people liked it.
Not enough people. No, it's not that. It's the adoption. The
Yeah,
money wasn't there. Okay,
not
so
enough
when
people
I'm
liked it to
talking
buy it.
about money and stuff you guys like, it's something to pay attention to. And we're going to talk about that with Apple going forward. But I'm going to talk about something that I believe is truly. I believe this, man. I am committed, not into its institution, which I fully expect to be, by the way, one day, just committed. But Microsoft HoloLens is powered by Intel Atom chips. Okay, Microsoft unveiled its new augmented reality. So we should say that it's a virtual reality slash augmented reality. Okay, that was just stunning. It was awesome. I can't. If I could, I would find a third world person to sell so I could get one of these. No, I'm just kidding. It's a joke. I didn't really mean that. Okay, so what's powering the Microsoft HoloLens is kind of important because we think about it's got a CPU, a GPU, and an HPU, the new holographic processing unit. This being powered by Intel and following the Cherry Trail design. Cherry Trail is the code name for Intel's newest Atom chips. That's interesting to me because Cherry Trail is not something that has been out of the market for a very long time. It's on smaller devices that will come out later this year. So we're seeing Intel make just like, they're like, all right, we've been getting just punched in the face. Like ARM and Snapdragon has been like grabbing our arms and punching us in the face with it. For the last couple of years, we're gonna try to make this thing happen. And in fact, on another story I read, it was about how Intel could save Windows for the Windows Phone side, and that could be a whole compelling case going forward. Anyways, so it's based on Broadwell architecture that's manufactured using the 14 nanometer printing technique. While Microsoft won't confirm the report, Cherry Trail does seem to fit well with everything else that we know about HoloLens, smaller, cooler chips that offer the mobility and processing, especially when you're talking about the HoloLens not being connected to a phone or not needing to be connected to like a phone device to make certain things work. The HPU, this is an entirely realm of speculation. Microsoft didn't say anything about its new chipset. However, one possibility is the company has simply developed the in-house way to handle the 3G data or imaging processing. Another option, which seemed a bit more reasonable, is that Microsoft partnered with Intel to repurpose one of its chips specifically to use the Cherry Trail, and that's what we may see going forward. So HoloLens, we already know it was awesome, but what's the reason why I bring up this story for you guys to listen, who are listening to this and or watching us live, is due to the fact that it doesn't have the stigma of having old technology in it. It has the latest and greatest. One thing that we can all agree on is that when Microsoft releases products, it had older technology in it when it was released. So we could talk about the 830 or the 930 even, or some of this other stuff. Dude, this has the latest and greatest from what chipsets are available that are going to be coming out of the market. That's why I brought up this story, and that is why this is a big deal. Kevin?
Right. I'm looking forward to April. We got Build. Curious to see what comes. Because I'm sure we're going to see and hear a lot more about HoloLens at Build. There's going to be a lot more news coming out, about that as
Right.
as the year progresses.
Right.
So
Right.
it it's an exciting piece of technology that definitely got mine and a lot of other people's attention.
Yeah. So you shared in, I think, with the news on this next story. Oh wait, no, hold on, hold
This
on, hold
next
on,
one,
hold
I
on.
believe, is just
Fine.
you
Nope, nope.
solo.
Still mine. Still mine. Ooh, solo. I like the sound of that. Solo. All right. If an advertisement pops up again, I'm going to be kind of mad seeing that. All right. Microsoft. Windows 10. For those of you who are on the tech preview, which is a lot of you, it's like 3 million. With any new Windows operating system, there's always a bunch of stuff and customizations that aren't readily available. Guess what? Guess what? Microsoft allowed skins, allowed customization way before Android did. Even existed. All right, I'm just throwing that out there. I've seen some really neat alterations to operating systems from Windows 7 and XP and all this stuff. It's kind of cool stuff. Anyways, so here are some hidden gems in the new release. I'm just going to go through this real quick. The start menu functionality. This enables some pretty cool looking start menu functions. Also, tray clock and calendar. The new clock and calendar is actually in keeping with the design language of kind of like a Windows Phone or the new Windows UI. I really like it a lot. I really do. And I think the naming kind of goes to that a little bit too. But the clock and the calendar, it looks a lot like what I would use on my phone all the time. So that's really cool. The new login screen, there's this weird like circle thing that's going down. Hey, Microsoft is like squares. What's up with the new circle menu? I know it's making a lot of Windows users a little kind of concerned, along with the hamburger menu, that it's taken on an Android look and feel. I don't know if you've kind of heard that or seen that in some of the
Yes.
reportings, but so it's got a new login screen, so there's a lot there. It's also got there's a way to remove or take out the multiple screen function or the multiple desktop on your ribbon or on the that tray. I like that a lot. that for me, I put a lot down there, especially when I'm using mouse and keyboard. So being able to remove stuff is good. I hope that comes and releases with the new build. But I'm excited about some of these hidden features. And I wanted to go back on a story me and Kevin were talking about in a previous show. Kevin, do you remember when we were talking about being able to run the new Spartan stuff? Well, it was just Internet Explorer, and it's just Internet Explorer. It's not the new browser, like ready to go. I
No,
just wanted to, yeah.
no, it's not being able to run the new browser. It's just kind of to get an idea of how some of the performance and not necessarily functionality, but a little bit of the code's there.
Right, exactly. So we're excited about this, but we're not going to talk about this too much because this is kind of a niche market right now and not an everybody thing. Okay, so let's get to the elephant that is shaped like an apple in the room, and let's talk about Apple a little bit. We on this show probably don't do enough to talk about Apple, but there's frankly not a whole lot of news that comes out of Apple all the time. So I know that iMore suffers from that a little bit. In their shows and stuff, they're like, yes. And what are we going to talk about today? The iWatch, or I mean the Apple Watch. I mean, it's not out yet, but there's some talk about it.
Yeah,
That's one thing that kind of sucks on their end. I would think from a news perspective.
yeah.
Anyways,
But I do have to give them credit. I mean, they still come up with a lot of good stories and good articles
absolutely.
to
I didn't mean that as
work
a
on.
dig to them. They do a wonderful job. I just said that their job is difficult in trying to
Yeah,
find things to
right.
cover. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, because I mean, they don't have the multitude of devices that Android puts out, and I mean, even Windows Phone. There's a lot of little devices on that coming out to talk about.
Well, and just with the news cycles, the news cycle is the way that it is. Okay, Apple now holds the world record in corporate profitability. This goes back to what I was talking about before. Don't fall asleep. This is interesting stuff. I promise. The iPhone maker reportedly had earnings of 18 billion, or $3 a share, up from 13 billion. That's that's amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Jesus, I want that money. I want that kind of money. Kevin, dude, we couldn't even spend that kind of money. Like, even if we tried, even if we
Oh, I'd
said,
like
you
to
know what,
try.
we're going to take this money and put it in a warehouse, it would take us more time than, like, like when you're watching stuff and how they compare, like, so this is X amount of many fries, or this is X amount of many, uh, I don't know, boxes of crayons or whatever. I don't know, but it's
Yeah.
insane, right? Like the stuff. The record earnings last quarter fiscal 2015. Oh man, I keep getting really lightheaded for some reason. A world record for quarterly profit of the companies, according to an analyst for Standard and Poor's. That's S&P. The previous record was held by ExxonMobil. There's a whole bunch of bad stuff attached to that, which earned 15.9 billion. So, dude, man, this is mad crazy. Okay, so
Yeah.
Apple's surge in profit was due in large part to the 74.5 million. That's 74.5 million iPhones sold during this last quarter, which was substantially higher than the 66.5 million and the last one. I would attribute that to the bigger size of the phone, and they were just like, you know what, the 5C didn't go anywhere, so let's just 5S five, or I'm sorry, the 6 and the 6 Plus. I don't know why I said that. I'm sorry, but the iPhone 6 and the 6 Plus. This is our portfolio. What up?
Yeah. I mean, it's looking at the stock prices today, they are up $7.55 as of right now. So I mean, the stock is still doing good today.
Yeah. So you contribute a little bit. Just what's your thoughts on how they can sustain this going forward? By the way, if HoloLens was iLens, people would be flipping out, dude.
Oh
They would
yeah.
be
People will be
just,
camping out now
oh my
for a
god,
launch in October.
they would just be losing their minds. Anyways,
Yeah. So I mean, I think they've done good. I've been seeing a lot of iPhone 6s and 6 Pluses. Surprisingly, I see a lot of 6 Plus devices. But
Really?
I mean,
Huh.
for me, that's what if I was to buy one for myself personally, the 6 Plus is where I would go because I like the larger devices. And even I think Walmart was online was selling refurbished ones, an iPhone 6 Plus with the 16 gig for like $598. And I think the iPhone 6 refurbished was for $498. Like that's a pretty good price. That's a pretty good price for off contract.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do. Yep.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes out of Apple here pretty soon because kind of in the market for a MacBook. And obviously, once the new versions come out, the older versions price drops. So, kind of debating on holding off, deciding what we're going to do with that. And, I kind of chimed in with a little bit here at the end with the Apple Watch, according to Tim Cook, is scheduled to debut and launch in April. Now, there's been a lot of rumblings about the Apple Watch and poor battery life. I mean, we're talking hours. I mean, few
Hmm.
hours, not even full day. So, of
Hmm.
course, that's going to depend on the features that you have running, how much you're using it, and interacting with it. So, obviously, we'll wait and see until it gets into like real world scenarios and users' hands before we make a judgment on that. But I'm
Uh,
sorry, it's got to
yeah,
get to a full day for me to consider purchasing one, no matter how good it looks and how functional the device would be.
I don't know, man. I don't know that this device out of the gate is going to be what they hope it's going to be. It's not that I don't think that it couldn't be awesome, but I just don't see engineering wise how they solve the problem of battery life.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting.
When you've got a barometer, I want to say they got a barometer. I want to say they've got like a bunch of accelerometers,
There's a whole bunch of sensors.
gyroscopes and sensors, and the average person is not going to turn this thing on and then go into a bunch of settings and turn a whole bunch of stuff off. They're going
No,
to want
it
it
defeats the
because
purpose.
Apple is Apple because pediatrics and geriatrics can use this thing. I mean, that's why they are
Right. Anybody
successful.
can use this thing.
Anybody can pretty much use it. A lot of the issues that people come to me with is where I just basically go in and turn a feature off.
Right.
So I could see a lot of people not liking this thing out of the gate because you can't solve the battery problem um,
Right.
without making this thing like a sundial on your arm. You
Yeah.
know?
It's kind of like the Microsoft Band. If you want to have the watch functionality where the kind of watch face is always on, so you can just look at your wrist with no problem and see what time it is, then it's going to be draining your battery because it's got that display lit
Yeah.
and kind of take a performance hit on that. So it's kind of the same thing. I mean, if you're wearing something on your wrist that can tell time, well, you want to be able to look at your wrist and see what time it is without having to push a button to get it to light up and go away.
Well, and Apple's thing too is they want the screen to be beautiful, right? They want it to, really pop and look good, and that takes power, man.
Bright and vibrant.
Yep, yep, yep. I mean, it's neat. Heart rate monitor. That's what the one I was forgetting. But yeah, if it's got the heart rate monitor and all the other stuff that I talked about, I mean, there's no. I mean, look at Android Wear right now. That it suffers from battery problems. They still haven't figured out how to do that effectively when people want to monitor as much as they want to monitor with the stuff that they have going on. Okay, does that wrap up our official news?
Let me see. Let me just touch on a couple other things with Apple, and because like I mentioned earlier, they announced their record-breaking results for quarter one of 2015. 74.5 million iPhones, like you said, 21.4 million iPads, 5.5 million Macs. Like you mentioned, $74.6 billion revenue with some things, and now it's time to sit back and relax, listen to the quarterly call. Some other the information that came out The Mac was up 14%. The App Store is up 41% for records. They shipped their 1 billionth iOS product, which happened to be a space gray 64 gigabyte iPhone 6 Plus, and
Wow.
looks like Apple saved it. So I guess they kept that for their history, which makes sense. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment.
That's weird. So what did the
And
person trying to buy that get? Nothing?
uh, they probably got the 1 billionth and one product.
Yeah, yeah. They're
Let's
like,
see.
yeah, we don't want to actually give our 1 billionth product, you know.
Right.
And 1 billion
And
of products, I mean, if you think about that size, that
right.
quantity,
So they've
amazing.
added in some new categories also. They mentioned Apple Pay is off to a great start with 750 banks and credit unions, makes up more than 2 out of $3 of contactless payments on three biggest credit card networks. Panera says 80% of mobile payment transactions. Whole Foods has seen an increase of more than 400% of people using, contactless pay, and you can use it up and down Main Street. It's in over 200,000 places, including vending machines, laundry machines, and parking payment systems across the country. Let me look through to see if there's anything really else that's it's kind of interesting. No, I'll just I will let it go from there.
No,
But
I wanted
again,
to. No, I wanted to say, hey, hey to our chat room people that are popping in. Just wanted to say hello. No, I wanted to talk just one quick more second on Apple. So was the store you were talking about, was that iTunes or was that Mac OS 10 or what? Where was the increase again?
they just mentioned now this is from iMore how they always cover their quarterly conference calls. They just said App Store, Mac records, the Mac is up 14% to 5.5, and App Store is up 41%. What that entails, I'm not entirely sure, but you
Yeah,
would have
well,
to,
I'll,
you'd have
I'll,
to
I'll
see an increase in apps.
Yeah, I'm
An
gonna
app,
I'm gonna try to drill down in this a little bit because as much as people like Apple and all that stuff, it's great. But when you think about how developers are trying to target Mac OS 10 and iOS, and how that works, I'm kind of curious to see if there's been a lot of uptick, right, in OS 10 development. Are
right?
you curious about that? I'm kind of curious about that.
Yeah. Yes, I
It's kind
am.
of because I mean a lot of people use Macs as desktop replacements, right? Like Windows replacements. Um, so they want that kind of either similar experience from those or whatever. So it's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So that's the end of our official announcement, right?
Right,
So,
right.
or I'm sorry, that's the end of our official news. Let's talk about something that's awesome. Vernon EL is in the chat room. He's also a good friend of the show, good friend of previous shows that we've done. We've had him on another podcast that we started and do. Um, we are launching a new show that is going to solely focus on Microsoft mobile software and devices with our good friend Vernon E.L. Smith from Glance and Go Radio. I love that name, by the way. And we couldn't be happier to have him on board. So I hope that all the listeners to this show welcome our new show when we kick it off, and welcome Vernon to the group. So I couldn't be happier. I told him, he's like, why do you want to have me on the show? I'm just like, dude, because you're passionate and you're like one of the nicest legit people I know, and you really like the Microsoft Windows fan ecosystem, like the WinFan, for example. If you're not following those guys, you should be. Even if you don't like Windows, even if you don't like Microsoft, those guys are awesome, good-hearted people that are passionate about their devices, and it's worth knowing them.
Right. So the new show is called the MS Mobile Show,
Yep.
and once we get the website up and going, you'll be able to go to msmobileshow.com and also follow it on Twitter and all that other good stuff. Still fine tuning and getting things set up for that to roll out soon. So stay in touch, and we will get you all the information needed to get the schedule going and when you can find that show.
Yep, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be brand new. We're starting this thing from all of our collective knowledge of all the other things we do. Um, I need to get to know more people. Vernon says, JJ, you need to get to know more people. I'm assuming that means because I think that Vernon's awesome. I do. I think that he's legit. And trust me, I know more people than you think I do. Actually, I've come across a swath of people in my time on this planet, all over the globe, and not all of them are awesome. So, having said that, I'm excited to check that out. No, I'm excited to start and embark this journey. We're going to have people that are from our previous guests on our previous shows on this show. We're going to have people from the community, and it's going to be a whole to-do. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So people who like this show still listen to this show. You have to listen to this show and the other show. Don't not listen to those. If you need to find a way to work out, and then maybe you can garnish some. One of our listeners was like, guys, I need to find a way to listen to more of your shows, and Kevin was like, well, you need to find reasons to leave. Then leave the house and maybe walk around.
Instead of having to run errands, maybe you can literally go run an errand and
I'm distracted, JJ. Yeah. So anyway, so thank you again. We're looking forward to that, and thank you everybody who is on our chat room and people who are just voyeurs watching. You can join in. It's cool. We'll treat you good. So let's get to our application picks and application fails. We're doing really good on time, so that's why I'm trying to.
Yep. So app pick of this episode, since we're big into podcasting and we like listening to all sorts of different podcasts and audio streams, I'd like to recommend Stitcher Radio. So it's available on iOS and Android. JJ, can you confirm if it's a Windows phone as well?
What's that?
Stitcher Radio.
It is not.
Okay. So anyway, but if you Android and iOS, you can find us on Stitcher Radio. And we're also available you can find us on TuneIn Radio and podcast apps like Beyond Pod and podcasts on Windows Phone, and Pocket Cast is one of my favorite podcasting apps. But Stitcher Radio, you can go there and you can actually leave reviews of the show similar to iTunes. So we would love to see some reviews and get some feedback of what you guys think of the Tech Informist, and that way people can also see those reviews and be like, okay, looks like a good show, I'll give it a try. So we're always looking to gain listenership, so would love for you all to spread the word about the show, because the bigger the community, the more fun we have, the more suggestions that we get for guests and news topics. So it's just more fun. And also would like to throw out an app fail of the week, and this goes out to Chase Bank for ending support and pulling their app from the Windows Phone store. So, like I'd actually tweeted out a couple days ago, once you've seen 20 million new Windows phones were sold in the most recent quarter. Imagine if 1/20th of those people were actually Chase customers and they used that app. It's 500,000 people that you have likely just upset. 500,000 customers. Now I'm just throwing out just ideas for numbers for a scenario. I mean, just imagine that. But apparently Chase is willing to do that.
Yeah. So real quick, I would know I want to take note that there are two podcasting apps that I think are really good. Podcast Lounge, Vernon offered, that is really good, and also a podcast with an exclamation point and an S at the end. Some people don't like it, but I actually do like it. I tried to reach out to the developer and he never replied to me, which kind of ticks me off. But I still, because it's a good product. Because it's a good app, I still am saying that is an option for Windows Phone users. Now, On the Windows Phone front, one other thing. Guess what? For those of you who used to use Chase, who aren't going to because they've stopped supporting the platform, then hop on over to Ally. Because they do Ally Bank, they do have an app, and they have stated, and we have a Windows Phone user group. They have stated that they are going to continue support for that application going forward. So that was good news. Do you remember seeing that?
Yes, so I believe that's ALLY.
A
Not
L L Y.
yes.
ALLY. The other thing that I wanted to say is, again, we focus on all platforms here, but we're just telling you kind of some fresh stuff that we use in our daily lives, and each show throughout the week, we're not, particular to one thing, but we're just kind of highlighting what's in the news right now. So the other thing that we've heard from our Windows, sorry, the other thing that we've heard from our fans of the show is that they want to hear more about Kevin, which is who you're hearing not talk right now, and me, JJ. They want to learn more about us and what we like and some of that kind of stuff. So because we're running really good on time, and Kevin would agree, I would like
Yes.
to throw out there that one of the things that I enjoy most about having a mobile device and being connected is being able to listen to music. And I'm going to throw out there one of the things I like listening to a lot lately has been the Vitamin String Quartet. Okay, they do covers of all sorts of music, but what I enjoy the most is when they do covers of metal or rock music or alternative, because I'm a fan of those genres. And I've been just listening to on repeat The Unforgiven by Metallica being redone by the Vitamin String Quartet. It is awesome. It is just really cool to listen to that. And then when I go and listen to the other version, it makes that version cool because I can bounce back and forth, and I like that sort of thing. So I wanted to share that with our listeners. If you're into that sort of thing, go check them out. Just do a search, The Vitamin String Quartet, and you're not going to be let down. I promise.
No, because I mean JJ kind of turned me on to this the Soul Asylum. I can't remember his name, but the lead singer from Soul
Oh,
Asylum. When
no,
he
no, no,
does
no. Shinedown.
Shinedown. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
Smith and Meyer.
Yes, Smith and Meyer. So when he does his covers, if you go to YouTube and just search for, some of these covers, they're all acoustic as well, which for
Yeah,
me, I love listening to acoustic versions.
yeah.
There's a radio station here in St. Louis, Y98, and on Sunday mornings, I believe they do the
Yep.
acoustic sunrise for a couple hours where they'll play acoustic versions of popular songs. And it always makes me wonder why more artists do not release those versions on their CDs, because sometimes the acoustic's better than the regular radio version. It doesn't need all the auto tuning and all that other
Yeah,
nonsense
yeah.
to
It's
sound good.
raw. It's raw.
Right.
It's very kind of intimate, right? We like that sort of thing. And I mean, music is intimate. It plays to a base. It plays to some of our base instincts. And some of our base needs. And like you just said, but if you do a search, his name's Brent Smith, uh, and it's Smith and Meyer. And if you do a YouTube search for that, like Kevin said, you won't not like his version of Runaway Train by Soul Asylum.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
it's
why I
so
always can
good.
associate with Soul Asylum.
Yeah,
But yeah,
Runaway
when
Train.
it comes to acoustic and stuff, that's kind of how I gauge a person as an artist, is how they sound naturally.
Right.
And can you play your own instruments, or can you just walk around with a wireless mic and do little choreographed dances and stuff like that,
Right.
and
You're
lip
not
sync?
you're not into J-Lo? You're not into that?
No, don't no.
Katy Perry? Some Roar?
Katy Perry can do some acoustic stuff.
Can she?
Yes, she can.
Oh well, I was just giving her crap. Maybe I need to check that out.
Now
I don't,
she's
I'm not a big fan of hers as a person.
well. You're
But
gonna see her this. You'll see her at halftime this
I may
Sunday.
see her, but she's gonna be on mute. I can tell you that
Oh,
much.
that's a shame.
But I probably just lost some followers. Speaking of which, Kevin, where can people find you and more about what we do here and all of that?
Yeah, so people can always find me on Twitter at Kevin Harvell with two L's. You can also find me plus Kevin Harvell with two L's as well on Google Plus and Kevin underscore Harvell on Instagram. I'm going to try to start promoting that a little bit more as well. You might see some cat photos of
Ah,
my youngest cat,
Nexus.
Nexus,
Yeah.
which I named her after the Nexus 5, which was a device that I never bought, but I do have a Nexus 6. So cute cat. Cute cat. She loves to talk.
hmm
And some other interesting photos that I, snap when I think to pull the phone out and take a picture of.
I wonder what her and Merlin would do, like my cat Merlin. I wonder what they would like if they would just be unbearable to be around because one, like both of them would meow, right?
Well, especially feeding time. She really loves to talk. It's almost like we have a conversation. It's just like she replies. It's weird.
hmm Yeah,
And I know Merlin from experience, so he's a
yeah.
talker.
Yeah, for sizzle. So the other thing I wanted to mention, we want to grow. But if you're listening to this show, did you know that you are among thousands of listeners all over the world? So thank you so much for everybody who listens to this show. We greatly appreciate it. Recommend this show to a friend.
Right.
Um, it's kind of like a good version of a drug. You
Right.
can always get your fix.
Right. We definitely want to thank all our listeners and viewers. I mean, we do truly appreciate it. And thank
Mhm.
you again, to everybody that likes to hop into the chat room. Vernon, got Nils in there as well. And we've got another viewer that just hasn't just hasn't hopped in yet with
Uh,
the chat. Kind
yeah,
of teetering on the edge.
not yet.
Make sure to join us next time if you don't hop in before this one's over. And again, like I mentioned before, to submit any topics or any feedback or suggestions, good, bad, indifferent, send that to contact@thetechinformist.com. And JJ, just real quick, where can people find out more about you and to connect with you after in between shows?
So you can find me on Twitter. That's the best place to do it. That's where I'm most active because I get notifications right away, that sort of thing. Is at JJ Hammond Music, and you can always go to this show, thetechinformist.com, and you will find me and Kevin that way. I mean, you can't not find us. uh, so yeah, listen to this and share and all of that. Thank you all for a wonderful show. Thank you to the chat room. You were great, and thank you to everybody. We really
All right.
appreciate it.
So that does it for another episode of the Tech Informist. So from everybody here at the Tech Informist, consider yourself informed, and we are out until next time.